Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Welcome back to Just Relationships. If you tuned into us last week, you know this is part 2 of a 2-part series with Vincent Genna, who is the author of The Secret That's Holding You Back. Vincent Genna is a psychic therapist and a medium, and I want everyone to know he is also holding a master's in social work. So we have someone who is a psychotherapist and who also has a connection with spirituality, transcendence, the divine, and who is teaching us about what is this secret that's holding you back. And what Vincent said in part 1, and you can certainly add Vincent, of course, is that unknowingly we hold beliefs that we are unlovable primarily, that we're not good enough. All the knots, as you say, Vincent, and that this is in the subconscious, and then we move into the unconscious, which you'll explain some more. And just underneath the surface are these beliefs around, I'm not deserving. If you really know me, you won't love me. Why am I afraid to tell you who I am? Said Father John Powell. He wrote his book at least 40 years ago. Why am I afraid to tell you who I am? Because if I do, you won't love me. You won't like me. So let me hide who I am. But here's the deal. If I hide who I am and you think you love me, it still goes back to, but if you really knew who I was, you couldn't possibly love me. So Vincent Genna, you talk about these beliefs as being protectors to the brain. So I will protect my own. Would you use the word shadow, Vincent Genna? That we all have a shadow self, that part of us that is so ashamed. Not only do we not want other people to know it, we don't want to know it ourselves. You can boil it down, if you use a model of Christianity, to the 7 deadly sins, which I think is really a good composite of what goes wrong with human nature when it comes to the extreme, the theft, the slothfulness, the lust, not that sex is bad, it's the lust part, coveting other people, envy, brutality, these things that are part of human nature when we experience and believe in scarcity. And so we have to fight for everything is the belief. There's not a belief in abundance and possibility, as you're talking about, Vincent. Is this making any sense to you in your worldview, how you're framing this?
Totally. And those 7 deadly sins, which is really interesting, all of that has been taught by religion are results. Those aren't characteristic traits. They're not natural traits. Anything that comes from the divine is only divine. But because we have free will and because we come down into this physical world, we have chosen to experience limitation. But we forgot we chose to experience limitation. So when we're here, and when we're wanting to experience life, but the stories tell us as we're being raised, our individual story, our individual experience, parent being parented, how it was when you were growing up, those are the stories I'm talking about. We wind up defining ourselves by those stories and we forget our divinity. And so what winds up resulting as we become adults, those 7 deadly sins, believe it or not, are also defense mechanisms. Bad behaviors always are a result of the way we feel about ourselves in the negative way. So whether it be substance abuse, whether it be sloth and laziness, and that is always a result. Lust is a result. Lust is actually a result, a direct result of not feeling lovable. But because we're sexual beings, if I can go around and have sex with as many people as possible, I can put a notch in my gun belt, like you see in the old days and that they talk about. And that means you love me. And that's why there's 8.2 billion people on the face of the earth, because we're using sex the wrong way. Okay. So they're all results. But of course, what religion did is ingrain in us how bad those results are. So now we feel even worse about ourselves. We're sinners. We're weak. We've got all these horrible scars on us. We're human failures and stuff. And the more messages we get that way, how do we get to feel divine? And so now, how do you also function with those beliefs? Well, like I said in part one, your brain's job, the human brain's job, is to keep us alive and keep us going. And we had mentioned Carl Rogers as one of your heroes. I know he was one of my heroes too, because he created the concept of humanist psychology, which he believed that if you remove all the social constraints from a human, they will naturally want to thrive and move forward. And yes, we want to do that because our souls know the truth about who we are. Not to mention, it's actually part of the law of physics. When Source, God, Yahweh, whatever you want to call it, Spirit, created us, everything was put into a forward motion. And as we know with Newton's law, that once something is put into motion, only an equal to or greater force can stop or redirect that motion. Nothing is going to be stopping or redirecting that motion. So we're constantly wanting to move forward. And that's what Carl Rogers is talking about, that desire to grow. However, the social constraints I put in my book are those self-beliefs we wind up developing, those maladaptive beliefs about us not being good enough, not being lovable, not being worthy, not being deserving. Those are the constraints because of the way we were taught and the way and the messages we picked up by the way we were taught. And so we develop those internal beliefs that restrict us and constrict us into believing that we're magnificent divine beings. And like I said, then religion is one of those social, constrictions of I'm a sinner. And now people are walking around guilty and thinking that if they go to confession on Saturday, they're worthy enough to go to church on Sunday, and every religion has some kind of release system or trying to forgive yourself system. In Judaism, it's Yom Kippur, where you'd have a Day of Atonement. They were a little smarter. They figured you only needed one day a year to confess and release all of those sins, rather than every single time you want to go to church. Oh my goodness, they figured that one out better. But it was always this kind of thing that you've got to forgive yourself for all your mistakes. You got to forgive yourself. Yes, you have to forgive yourself. But more importantly, you have to start believing that you are a magnificent being, no matter what your circumstances are. Because if you keep telling a person you're a piece of dirt, you're nobody, guess what? That's exactly how they're going to act. But you tell somebody that they're magnificent, wonderful, beautiful, divine, all of a sudden they start latching onto that message rather than the negative message, and they see changes in their lives instantaneously. Dr. Duffy, there's two real important things that my book is about that everybody has to understand. Number one, we are more than this physical body. We are powers. If you do not believe that, you can't go any further in your life. That's it. You can get some coping skills. Maybe you'll get from Monday to Saturday and Sunday, and you'll go to work, you'll be productive, but you will not thrive. You will just survive. And people today are not wanting to survive because why? Because there is that soul inside that today, more than ever, is trying to let that person know you are more and worth more than just surviving. That's why I am so booked up. I don't have enough time to deal with everybody who wants help, because I'm like, you called me because you believe that there is a future for you, that you believe that there's more for you in life. Otherwise, you wouldn't have reached out to me. You're looking for that hope and that validation that there is. And our souls will always tell us there's more to try to get that movement going. Like I said, we can never go backwards, but we can dig our heels in because of those defense mechanisms, because of those internal beliefs. And now we stop ourselves, which is why we create such horrible internal energies that come out in the form of illness, because it's not just a matter of lashing out publicly. Like I said, we will create illnesses. In my book, I have a chapter devoted to health. And I list 5 reasons why we become ill. And I know we don't have the time to go into all 5 of them, but if we're energies, like you have to understand, and you are compressing negative self-beliefs, now your thoughts and your beliefs charge your energy, either positively or negatively. So if you've got all these negative beliefs, and energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be redirected. Well, those negative energy beliefs, number one, are going to accumulate in the world, which is what you're seeing today, because we're all connected together, but mostly they're going to accumulate inside of you. And what happens when you keep compressing and suppressing all those negative beliefs? Because your protective mind wants to keep you functioning. It wants to keep you to be able to go through life. So it's going to push down, make all these excuses and suppress and repress those negative beliefs. They are going to come out some way. You will implode. All your diseases and illnesses and cancers, the most ridiculous things. I was a hospice social worker, and I had over 500 patients that I helped during their transitioning. I had seen diseases that I never thought, and cancers. I had a patient who died of cancer from under her pinky nail on her finger. Pinky nail is where she started with the cancer, and it metastasized everywhere else. And that's how she wound up dying. The most ridiculous things, because you're going to implode. These are not people who had happy Brady Bunch like childhoods. Okay. These are people who had hard childhoods and they did the best they could, but you're an energy. That's number one, the most important thing to understand. And number two, that you're packing away the most influencing part of your life. And that is whatever your thoughts or beliefs were originally created that are in your unconscious mind, not your conscious minds. Your unconscious minds, because that's where the power is. That's where we're connected. So even in the law of attraction, Dr. Duffy, there's a little fallacy in the way they teach the law. They tell you that thoughts create. In actuality, thoughts do not create. Beliefs create. Your thoughts influence and can change your beliefs. But it's those inner core beliefs. So when people are telling me, no, I think that I deserve a good job and I still haven't been getting the one that I want. I think I deserve a really good love life and I'm not attracting anybody who's worthwhile. I think this and I think that. And I'm like, but you don't believe. And it's not your thoughts that you're creating with, it's your beliefs. That's why you need to do this core work. You need to always work out the core. Don't we understand that when we do exercise and we're trying to strengthen our bodies? What's one of the first things that all exercise trainers tell you, whether you do aerobics, whether you're working out at the gym to strengthen your body, the most important part of your body, if you don't work out, no matter what else you do, will not pull together, and that is your core. The weakest muscles in our body are right around our navel and that whole area over there. And yet because they hold together the strongest muscles, your legs, your upper body, unless you work out and strengthen that core, you will not have balance. You will not have the outcome you want. And my book is the core work. You will not have the outcome you desire or that you're trying to practice with all those other principles unless you do this core healing work.
Beautiful. You lay it out so well, Vincent Genna, author of The Secret That's Holding You Back. And so we have these unconscious beliefs that we're not lovable, that we're not worthy. And when I talk to my patients about, it's like having a little child with their sticky fingers on the steering wheel of your life. Your life is your car, and you have no idea that this little kid with its sticky fingers is running the show.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You like
I'm
that.
laughing at that because you say exactly what I say. You just use different words. I tell them, I said, just think of walking around with a 9-year-old child. Yeah. And every time you want to make a decision, you're turning to that child and saying, wait, do you think I should do this? Do you think, is this a good date that I should go on? Is this the job that I should take? You're asking unconsciously that little kid to make the decisions for you. It's the same thing that you just said. They are the ones that are influencing you. And oh my God, why did people think you can cut your past out? Why? I know. You see memes and graphics about that all the time. Forget your past, stop living in your past. Oh my gosh, it's easier to cut your limbs off than it is to cut your past out.
Exactly. And just in the cerebral, the cognitive, oh, okay, I should just do this. But what am I up against? As you say, this huge unconscious. And so here we have so much that we're up against, and we want to raise our consciousness. Mm-hmm. We can get to the point. I mean, many of my clients will say, I don't deserve, right? They know this much, I don't deserve to be loved. I really think it's important. You were saying that people choose to believe certain things, or they choose to accept limitations. I don't think that people choose to accept limitations. I think that we are all culture bound and we don't understand our conditioning. And it's like trying to explain to a fish what water is, because a fish doesn't know what water isn't. So what we want to do is to make the unknown known. Right. Okay, so a person we only have a couple of minutes left. And isn't that something?
Right, of course.
A person has surfaced that they believe they're unlovable. And then what do they do? Just in a couple of minutes.
Yes, exactly. And it's not that I believe that we choose to hold on. Those are only, and one of the excuses are all unconscious. Unconscious, which is interesting, intentionally or unintentionally, but unconscious, that we will hold on. There are some people that will hold on to their bad feelings about themselves because it's what they're used to, and that's how they've gotten through life. But that's not like it's exactly what you said. It's more environmental and circumstantial that they wind up believing. So how do you do that? Here's what's interesting about the intuition and why we're a civilization that's over 11,000 years old and we've come this far. Is because intuitively, we would know what to say. If we eliminate all those blockages and we start listening to our intuition, we know how to raise a child. A woman does not have to read a book to know what to do to keep that child alive. And she doesn't need to read a book to know how to hold that child and create the attachment. Attachment theory is all about the way humans attach to other humans, because it started with the mother and the ability to be able to express affection. That is all intuitive, expressing love and affection. So what I say is if you treat yourself, I do a personification exercise in the book, which is fabulous. People are unbelievable things are happening when they're talking with their little child, and they're discovering things that they have suppressed so much that now they know exactly what it is that they have to heal. You have to, and John Bradshaw did this, right? In The Homecoming, Reclaiming and Championing Your Inner Child. That was the book that he wrote that became really famous. He actually made people go out, his clients go out and buy teddy bears and dolls and personify that teddy bear and doll as their inner child again. You do that because you need to. And he also coined the phrase reparenting your inner child. You would know how to take a child who came to you one day and said, Daddy, Mommy, nobody likes me at school. Everybody picked on me. I'm unlikable. Nobody loves me. The teacher corrected me in school today. I'm stupid. I'm never going to amount to anything. You would never let that child believe that, because you understand that children catastrophize and exaggerate, right? So you would naturally want to comfort that child and say, oh, that's not true, honey. Maybe the children who picked on you were yelled at by their mommies and daddies before they came to school, and they're taking it out on you, but it doesn't have anything to do with you. Of course, you have friends who love you and think you're wonderful. And so you made a mistake in school today. Don't worry about it. Tomorrow you'll do even better, and you'll be able to learn even more. You're very smart. If we could do that, and this is what I tell my clients all the time. I say, have you ever had to do that with a child? And it's, oh yeah, there's been times, my nephew, my son, my daughter, whomever. I said, have you ever said that to yourself, your own inner child? And they go, well, no, I've not. Well, there you go. But it's not that you don't know how. You didn't think you had to. And you need to reparent and reinforce. I give exercises in the book that actually do that. The 3R system is a fabulous one that you do on a daily basis. First, review any of those negative self-beliefs you may have. Go and look and really take the time to say, okay, how am I really feeling about myself? Because if you really take the time, you can bypass the defense mechanism to get down deep. And you don't even have to it doesn't have to be a deep session, because that little inner voice talks to us all the time. We're just not listening to it or paying attention to it. We're pushing that little kid away. So as soon as you start reviewing and you say, okay, maybe I didn't think I was good enough at work. Okay, all right. So that's the first R, which is review. The second R is to replace that thought for that inner child, for that belief. Well, it's not that you're not good. It's just the timing wasn't right. You are good. You've done so many different things. And then the third R is to reinforce with those examples, with an understanding that you have the reason to believe you're good enough. Look, you've accomplished this. You've come this far. You've done other things that have been successful. We do not take the time to do that. So the 3R system right there begins the process of reparenting. Because this is one of my beliefs, which people really enjoy listening to. Okay. Every adult is rational, reasonable, reliable, and stable, but every child is not. Therefore, any negative fear or doubt that you have is not coming from the rational, reasonable, and reliable adult of you. It's coming from the inner child of you. Reparent, reinforce, and you will be able to accomplish all you want in your life, and you see the results immediately. Thank you for letting me share that.
Thank you, Vincent Genna. And again, this idea of reparenting. I'm going to be alone on a Saturday night, loving myself. When I tell this to my clients, love yourself, reparent, be that wise person to this little child that didn't receive sufficient nurturing. A lot of them are lost in this. they cannot grasp the concept. I do like the term you used about personify, right? And what John Bradshaw said, make a teddy bear, a doll. So
if I may just interject there, the reason why they're uncomfortable with it, it's not that they can't do it. We're intellectual beings. We know how to do things as soon as we're taught them. Some people, the outliers, may have some problems with it, but the problem is they're not comfortable with it because they're not used to hearing from the very beginning. And there's where the problem lies. When you're a child and you hear you're wonderful, then it's very easy for you to accept that you just did a project at work. It was really successful, and you go home going, wow, that was really cool. I feel so good about myself that I was able to accomplish that. But if you have not heard that you are great and wonderful while you were growing up, it's very uncomfortable. And it's not that people don't know how to say to themselves, I love you. They're not used to it, and they don't know if it's real. So if I say to myself, I'm lovable, that's going to change everything. Yes, it will eventually. That's where the concept of fake it until you make it comes in. We are capable of being able to teach ourselves anything. We are a creature and a being to make choices. As a matter of fact, we're the only creature on this earth that makes conscious, willful choices. No animal makes choices. They respond. Everything is about responding and temperament in the animal kingdom. We make choices because we're the highest vibrational beings on this planet, because we have souls. We are souls. And in that, we have wisdom and knowledge automatically. So earlier, and I believe it was the last show, we also talked about, again, how sometimes people don't want to, in my theory, they don't want to let go of some of these negative self-beliefs. And I'm going to argue again, that is absolutely true, because this is the case. When they turn around and they say, oh, well, that concept, I don't know what that means to love myself. Yes, you do. You do, because I just told you it. I just told you what that definition is, but you're refusing to take that step. Why? Because the defense mechanism is saying, hold on to this belief. It's all you got. Hold on to this belief. Even if it makes you feel bad, hold on to this belief. Actually, that is what causes criminals. When I studied psychology, a criminal begins to form their attitudes when they start experiencing shame. When they had to do something that maybe was a lower choice and it made them feel bad about themselves, eventually, if they keep doing that, they turn around and have a very complacent attitude about themselves. Well, who cares? I'm a piece of dirt anyway. That's what a criminal truly believes, that they are such pieces of nonsense and dirt and unworthy. So who cares? I'll act it. I'll do anything. And then anarchy occurs, which is what you're seeing on the planet actually today, is people refusing to believe that they are worth something because they don't have the proof of it. They don't have evidence in their lives that they were great, not until they change their beliefs. The moment they change their belief, they will get all the proof they want. So my hardest job, and I'm sure your hardest job, is being able to convince them that they really are worthy. And right now, they're only acting based on their circumstances rather than they can actually experience different circumstances if they change their beliefs. New beliefs create a new life instantaneously, and they can do that.
Yes, I am worthy and I am lovable. So, Vincent Genna, thank you so much for part 2 of The Secret That's Holding You Back. And you will come back to us.
Oh, I would love to. Yes.
And thank you so much for your energy, Vincent. Your beautiful, divine energy.
Thank you.
This is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.